problem is that with the reading, it sometimes is tricky, where it's like, I can read a chunk, it's like this chunk, which is like all straight literary character, good crunchy character stuff, and only mentions the word magic once, the whole chunk. Or, I can read the other chunk, which is like all sorts of magic stuff happening, like weird stuff from other dimensions, and like crazy shit. So somebody requested, what is it? The weird stuff? Magic stuff?
Magic stuff.
Yeah. You guys are supposed to be like the literary crowd, you know, so I thought you were gonna...
Really?
It's in the name of the series.
It's the
like
first.
Literary, no?
But
Worms!
literary... I feel like literary, just like first, is super loosely defined.
Okay, well, we're going to go with the looser definition, and I'll read my fantasy stuff, and you'll let me know if that's any literary merit after all. So, this is the part of the story where there's Ollie, Olive, she goes by Ollie, her roommate Victor, and Victor, they both sort of do magic, and Victor somewhat unwisely cuts a hole into another dimension, just sort of to prove that he can do it. And so he's showing it off, and they're looking at this hole in another dimension, and then like a big horrible like space worm comes through and like lands in the middle of their kitchen, with them in their kitchen. And what else do you need to know? Just a little bit about, I think I mentioned she's got a son, who she's estranged from, that's important later on. Yeah, it's going to be fun. You're going to understand what we're going. So, we're in the kitchen, worms on the floor, that's where we're going to start. Oh my God, Victor says, kill it. But neither of them make a move to do this. Instead, they both take 2 steps backwards. The thing is a fat worm, about 2 feet long. Its body is composed of hundreds of transparent nubs, terminating in tiny little grasping suckers. Behind this seething tissue, Ollie can see weird rudimentary organs clenching and pumping, a loop of slime being crudely circulated from one end of its body to the other. The worm contracts and contorts, smacks itself wetly against the baseboard. It's going behind the stove, Ollie says, trying to intuit some order in its chaotic twisting. Don't let it get back there. Okay, says Victor. He takes a step towards it, half crouched, hands splayed open like he's an alligator wrangler. Jesus Christ, don't touch it, Ollie says. Billy reels around to look at her, helpless, baffled in the face of these competing injunctions. We have tools for this, she says, grabbing onto the handle of the nearest drawer. She jerks on it hard, too hard half thanks to the fight or flight responses dominating her system. She's left holding an empty drawer swinging out behind her, while all the utensils spill across the floor in a cacophonous tide. The worm lashes back from the clanging mess, whips itself complicatedly into the legs of a bar stool. Tongs, Ollie says, pointing at them with her foot. On it, Victor says, scooping them up. He takes one step towards the stool and pauses there, considering his angle of approach. Don't touch it, Ollie says again, because she can't think of what else may constitute good advice in this situation. The worm uncoils, releasing the stool legs from its grasp, and throbs once, propelling itself towards Victor's feet. Victor takes this opportunity. He lunges, gets the tongs around the worm's midsection, and lifts it up to eye level. It rides in the air. Ollie shrieks. Victor blanches. Now what? He yells. The sink, Ollie yells, gesturing at it with both hands. Big motor movements seem to be about all her body wants to produce in this situation. Get it in the sink. Victor takes one big step towards the sink and drops the worm in there. Drops the tongs in as well, just for good measure. He steps way back and Ollie cautiously steps forwards, taking his place. Kill it, Victor says. Just wait a second, Ollie says, leaning forward, trying to get a better look at the thing. It contracts and expands gently in its crude confinement, as though gathering strength, and then thrashes outwards, whacking the side of the sink, which makes about the same sound as it would if you just hit the steel sounding with a rubber mallet. Both of them jump. Ollie reaches out and peels the cleaver off of the magnetic strip mounted on the wall. Kill it, Victor says again, a little more pleadingly this time. Just a second, Ollie says. You ever think that maybe our first response to this thing maybe shouldn't just be kill it? We don't even know. She has to pause here, because the list of what they don't know is so lengthy that she can't even select an option that would meaningfully fill in the blank. The worm coils, and then, as Ollie watches, it slowly extends one of its tips into the air, as if sniffing, although it doesn't appear to have nostrils as such. She can't even say for certain that she's looking at its head. It seems to have a total lack of sense organs. She has barely completed making this observation before it is rendered obsolete. A thin seam opens up along this risen end. The seam ripples and opens, revealing rows of needle-like teeth, and the worm hisses. Yeah, nope, Ollie says, and she terminates this development right fucking now by bringing down the cleaver and lopping off the hissing part. The body twists reflexively a few times, black fluid spewing from the wound and splashing across the sink's stainless surface. And then it stops. Okay, Ollie says, still gripping the cleaver. She wants very badly to wash her hands, but she's afraid to put her fingers in the sink. We still have a problem, Victor says, pointing at the portal, which hangs in the center of the room. Maybe it's just the extra adrenaline talking, but it seems to have taken on a baleful aspect, like an accusing eye. You forgot, Ollie says, pointing the cleaver at him accusingly. Forgot what? You forgot the first fucking rule of this shit. Don't make something manifest if you don't know how to banish it. I knew how to banish it, says Victor. You thought you knew. Maybe, Ollie yells. But you were wrong. Fine, you want me to say I was wrong? Will that gratify you? A little bit. Okay, fine, I was wrong. Are you going to stand around enjoying being right, or are you going to help me get this thing closed before it shits another snake into our kitchen? For the moment, she puts aside the fact that she's supposed to be finished with doing magic. And instead she thinks, banishing ritual. She's done banishing rituals hundreds of times. It's one of the first things you learn when you're learning magic. You gather your will, focus it, channel it towards the disruption of whatever craziness you summoned up. Normally it's easy, like disturbing a reflection by dragging your fingers through still water. But this doesn't look like it's going to be easy. So, when it's not easy, you reach for something that can help. Some object that can amplify your willpower. Wands, holy symbols, objects with deep personal significance, whatever. Tools, she says. Victor shows no signs of hearing her. He's staring abjectly into the portal. She claps her hands together to break his trance and regain his attention. Victor, tools, magical implements, what do you have? Bells? Sacred bells? He says for a moment. Awesome, get them. What do you have? He asks her. She considers the question for a second. Tries to remember where any of her old magic shit might be. After a grudging moment, don't do this, says a part of her brain that's afraid to look at the past. She realizes she might have something that will work. She bolts out of the kitchen, nearly colliding with Victor in the doorway. She skids down the hall, finally coming to a stop in front of the hall closet. She yanks out the lumpy sack that contains Victor's old air mattress and drops it over her shoulder, letting it thud onto the floor. Behind it lies a beat-up cardboard box, the final repository of the occult claptrap that she collected in what seems like some former life. Objects with significance. She pulls it towards her and blows coils of dust off the top of the box with one sharp huff. Okay, here, she says, bringing the box to Victor. He's back in the kitchen, working hurriedly to untangle a string of tiny bells. Behind him, the rift undulates calmly. There's got to be something in here that will work, she says. Open it up, Victor says. She hesitates, then reluctantly plants the box on the thin strip of counter between the sink and the range top. She braces herself for just a second, and then she opens it for the first time in years. She sees a silver cup, a loop of prayer beads, a lump of wax. She sees an acrylic box that contains 2 human teeth, one of her own baby teeth, and one tooth that fell out of her own mother's head in those final bad weeks. She digs down a layer and comes upon a dirty Ziploc bag that contains things that she kept because they connected her to Jesse. Just a few things that he handled. A red plastic kazoo from one of his birthday parties. Arcade tokens from the day she took him to Coney Island. She remembers him, standing before a machine, oversized mallet in hand, pounding down cartoon totems as they popped up through holes. Remember thinking that he looked exactly like a tiny, wrathful god. Seeing all this stuff delivers a whomp straight to her chest, just as she knew it would. She tries to ignore it, tries to remain focused on the problem at hand, the rift in her goddamn kitchen, instead of the larger, more amorphous problem of how to reconcile herself to every fucking thing in her fucked up past. She fumbles with the Ziploc bag, gets it open, gets the kazoo in her hand, holds it aloft with something like a gesture of triumph. That, Victor says. This, Ollie says. Not exactly the first thing one thinks of when thinking of a magical instrument. Trust me, Ollie says. It has a lot of personal significance. Why the fuck not, Victor says, and he reaches out to take it. She almost hands it off, but then she hesitates. Some of the idea of Victor playing just as kazoo bothers her. If anybody's going to use it for a magical purpose, it should be her. I got this, she says. She puts the kazoo between her lips and blows. Forgotten force moves from her belly up to her head, out to her face. She projects herself out into the air and tangles with the impossible shape of the rift. Everything that's happening is invisible and intangible, but reminds her of physical grappling, wrestling, rough fucking, the application of force and a response to force. And she has to admit, it feels good, scary good. She sucks breath and it buzzes on the kazoo again. It shrieks. The rift quivers. Victor starts jangling the string of bells finally. That doesn't really matter. He's not a factor in this ritual anymore, if he ever was. He's like someone who's been nudged out of a threesome. It's all between her and the rift now. She concentrates. She frowns. She can sense the many ways in which the rift is trying to fight her, but she knows just as many ways to smack it back into behavior. She knows exactly what she's doing. And the moment she knows that, with certainty, it's over. She won. The rift collapses down into a single, delicate tendril of smoke. She steps forward and whiffs it away with her hand. Jesus fuck, Victor says. How about we not do that again, Ali says, breathing hard. Yeah, okay, Victor says. Thanks.